Anyway, so let's move on to the next one, and this
Yes.
is it docked at DS9. Now this
Yes.
this brings up one of the size conundrums, I guess.
So we know roughly the size of DS9. We know it's a big station. We know the Galaxy class and Nebula class can dock to those top pylons easily. But we also know the Defiant is, as we said, 170 meters, which is the bigger version, or I think or the medium version, and that's what I say 400 meters smaller than the Galaxy. I think I said, but it docks directly into the side of this DS9 station and looks about the same size as the saucer of the Excelsior, if not bigger.
Exactly.
Which probably makes sense in terms of bridge, sort of. But it feels big. It feels like you need one of the full normal docking pylon sections to dock in, and yet it's meant to feel as small as it is. So if you skip to the next picture, well, suddenly it's what, a fourth the size of the Lakota's saucer,
and that's it's probably, I don't know how many feet above, but I mean it's still.
Well, it was pretty close. I mean, those shots didn't take many seconds to hit the shields, but yeah, I mean, obviously, camera angles change the perspective, but it's definitely not the same size in these two shots. Because if it was going to be the entire length of most of the size of the saucer, it'd fly over in like a second. It would not be an impressive shot at all. But oh yeah, of course it's but yeah. I mean, what do you prefer as being the bigger ship that really fits in DS9, or a much more really small ship and compact? What do you prefer?
I prefer the bigger ship. I'm not a huge fan of small ship designs. I don't think that they would be very tough and resilient, personally.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Defiant too, if you get it in a game like Armada, it's destroyed. Like, it's so useless in games.
Yeah. Bridge Commander, at least Kobayashi Maru mod, they definitely have it more powerful, because Quantum. I mean, you never see it fire Quantums in any other games. Armada 1. It's just that initial level of let's send a lot in and then pulse phase and gets blown up. But really, it should be Quantum's fire, pulse phases fire, maybe it gets blown up, but it should definitely take out a few ships as it goes. Definitely underpowered in games, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, but I prefer the larger scale, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree. Which definitely makes it feel less of that small ship, because if it's about the same size as the saucer of the Excelsior, which itself is bigger than the saucer of the Connie, then suddenly it's like, well, it's half the size of the Connie, and then it's like, well, that's not too small. It's not a smaller ship. I don't know.
Well, let's move on to the next picture. We have the I love these cutaways.
Yeah,
this one's awesome. Let's see.
You can definitely see the door, the landing struts, much more clear here.
What's that thing in the middle? Pulse phaser cannon, but they'd be off to the side. So
yeah, it's difficult with scale. In this version, the warp core goes all the way up into the top of the ship.
And this shows that the docking port's the upper part of the.
See that?
And the deflector's on the bottom.
That makes more sense to me, but again, isn't it? Maybe there's a maybe the whole deflector comes in, and because there's this slight slope, maybe a bit comes up, like a recessed tube. It just has to be as big as a person, and that just opens up and slides in. Maybe.
It could be. Unless that's one of the reasons for the articulation, is when it docks it and somehow lines up the. I don't know.
But that seems
because there's got to be a reason for this, and I've never been able to figure that out.
I mean, especially since they made it in the toys, like it's not a non-canon thing. I mean, it's going to have to be some reason for that. It's not out of nowhere sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's basically the same thing, although it seems to have another shuttle bay here, which looks like a runabout class, which is interesting. Now, we know it should have more than one shuttle, but I don't. So does that imply that it has to get beamed from the storage to the main shuttle bay? Because we've seen it's pretty damn small, and there's not many rooms or much space in the ship.
Yeah, that's a good question. You almost wouldn't want shuttle storage like you have in the Connie, where it's underneath. You got the in bays and stuff. You almost wouldn't want that in this ship, because it would take up quite a bit of room. You'd almost want all your shuttles lined up on the side of the bay, maybe.
And you've got to think, what are the mission profiles of the Defiant, and what are the mission profiles for shuttles? Why would a Defiant, like, apart from just the basic... That's why you should have one shuttle, but it doesn't follow the same paths that need shuttles. I mean, it's not going to land... it can land on a planet. It's not going to go for diplomatic missions. It's not going to... and it's a warship. It's not... I don't know. Doesn't necessarily. It's not a shuttle profile ship, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, there's certain atmospheric conditions where you can't beam down. So yes, like you said, to have at least one shuttle, I would say two. I would
Yeah,
say
I
two
would probably say
at the
two.
least.
I think there is. Well, I think it's more
To
than
have
that,
one
but...
as a redundancy or a rescue craft in case the one goes missing or whatever.
Yeah, and that is the exact reason we see them having a shuttle, because they go through that time dilation planet, I believe.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And this one says length 120 meters, height 23 meters.
Well, look, there's only like 4 decks. You can see the little
it's
person silhouettes there.
That's nothing. That's God. You could. This is truly the eye of the needle sort of ship. I mean, the mission profile is so small. I love it. Anyway, so the next picture is the bridge. Gotta say, I love this bridge design. I really do. It's so different, but this is a bridge that I would have built personally because it's so enclosed, so small, and I'd be perfect to film in. There's depth of field, between different characters, and you can run around it so easily, and it feels like an action-packed set because of the red lights, because it's got a beautiful line between the stations of those red, powerful, red alert lights. I don't like when they replaced the back table with a hollow emitter. I thought it was a waste of space.
That's why it didn't last long. I think it was one episode that we saw that.
But the table's cool. Yeah, what do you think of the bridge?
I love the design. Like you said, it's easy to see a smaller crew being able to man this one. Yep. I also like the striping on the floor because it's like a for a museum or a school tour. Just follow the little path
and we're walking
around the bridge, and now you're out. All right, bye.
Which it would be very quick. It's such a small ship.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the captain's chair. I love that having those things on the side for controls instead of being on the arms of the chair. I think that's an amazing idea.
The whole design I think is really excellent. And very minimalistic, but yet everyone's got a lot of panels. I think this is probably, because if you look at the other ships of the line, the D has set consoles with only one, desk, as it were. The E has a lot of space, but they don't feel as important. Like, they're just like, here's lots of scanning equipment. The Connie obviously has big stations, but there's actually relatively few control surfaces, as in out of the space of the console. There's not as many buttons as space. Whereas here, it's each side of the bridge, it's wall-to-wall screens. Like, the entire surface is control. So it's very, very work-friendly, and it's very, very, you've got access to so much information.
And something else I noticed on this one, too, at the bottom there. Yeah. It's another size conundrum thing.
Oh, okay.
Because the last picture we just talked about had 4 decks, 4 visible decks that you could see.
Yes.
This says we have 6 decks.
Yes.
See, the size of the ship is really, really... Like, we always find size conundrums when we do research for this show, but that's usually because there's fan-created content, whatever, and they kind of fudge the sizes, so...
And at the end of the day, because these are models, well, they were originally models, it's up to the people that actually are doing these CG shots to know the size, because within a few seconds you can just say, right, let's bring it a little bit closer in frame. Whoops, it now looks 30% larger than it should be. If they don't get that look right, then it sets up these precedents that cause confusion, especially for the Defiant. It's like, wow, this is wrong. I mean,
well, that goes back to what I was saying, though. Like, most of the discrepancies we find are because there's so much content out there, both official and unofficial. This one is one of the main ships that's official CBS, like, series, and it's so many problems in that series with sizing, which usually you don't get that, per se. Usually the size you see on, especially when you see it on a regular basis on a TV series, is pretty much set. But this one, I don't know. It's just like a yo-yo. It just fluctuates.
It's probably just different effect houses or different producers at certain times saying, right, this makes sense in this shot, this makes sense in this shot. Because at the end of the day, it's the shot that matters. And I don't think as many people in all the departments would be thinking, yes, in 10, 15 years, these guys are going to dissect. Unfortunately, it's hundreds of people that are going to dissect, because that's what a lot of us do. But then again, I mean, it still has a continuity for the most part. It's just those few exceptions. I mean, it's like the Bird of Prey. I mean, there's in Star Trek 3, it's 3 different sizes or 2 different sizes that can't coincide. Just doesn't. There's no rectifying that. There isn't.
Yeah.
But it's all canon, so you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But anyway, the next picture shows It's pulse phasers, which were brand new for Defiant, and boy, did they pack a punch.
Yeah, and they're located just above the cell, the Blizzard collectors.
Hell of a risky place to put weapon launchers. Well, aren't they tied into the engines?
I think they are. I think to increase the firepower, absolutely.
Because when we talked about other ships, pulse phasers are quicker fire, higher energy. They're higher energy than phasers because they just throw out the energy, whereas phasers are longer firing arc and can go longer and they can target much more pinpoint. So it makes sense that they're just saying right, almost flash the warp engine up to 110%, use the excess to fire off, or however it works.
Yeah, bleed off the extra energy or plasma with the weapons. Yeah, absolutely.
What did you think though? Because another problem with the Defiant is that its power offensive seems to fluctuate. That is a problem with DS9 in general. When they show big battles, they don't tend to keep continuity of who can beat who. We see, we see a shot that was in our Bird of Prey episode, I believe, that in 3 or 4 shots, there goes a Klingon Bird of Prey, there goes a Dominion bug ship, and it's like, wow, shields don't do jack shit. But then suddenly it goes into other ships, and it's like, wow, now it can survive 100 billion shots. And it needs the quantums to do something. It's like it fluctuates in ability.
Well, that goes back to what you were saying earlier about getting the shot. It just depends on the story. Depends what the director wants. It depends what the story calls for. It's just a plot device, right?
It depends how kick-ass it has to be in that moment. Because it's a hell of a thing to see it just mow through Dominion ships, but then at the same time, oh wait, they have shields. It can't be that powerful as every ship in the fleet. Because why wouldn't you then give every single ship some pulse phasers? Just that initial... Because you can imagine, the E or the D just warps in, fires those pulse phasers, destroys the first 2 ships, because obviously, then it fires everything else. Even if it's just front firing, every ship should have them.
Well, the strategy for Star Trek ships usually is phasers to deplete the shields. Yep. Once the shields are down, then you hit them with the punch of the torpedoes.
Or even if you have the chance, torpedoes first to do that first initial weakening, and then pump them if you've got the arc right.
Yeah, but they do say phasers first before torpedoes generally, because you want that physical impact on the ship's hull with the torpedoes. So these pulse phasers, I think they're more of a punch, and I think that would affect the shield a little bit differently.
Sort of overloading it, as it works. It's having to deal with so much energy.
Yeah.
I just think they fluctuate in how powerful it is. But I mean, it looks amazing. And as somebody does CG, I know it's hell of an annoying thing to fire 4 things every damn time, and it fires them very quickly. But yeah, really cool addition.
It's dynamic looking for sure. It looks great.
I think it's the only Federation ship that had it. I think Prometheus has them inside canon after the fact, but the only time you see them is the Defiant. But yeah, cool weapon.
Yep. All right, so the next picture is, of course, the ever awesome quantum torpedoes being fired.
Out of the oddly detailed... torpedo-y areas, but that makes sense. I mean, it works for me. And this was obviously, I think this was the first time you got to see them, but then you saw them more in First Contact. I think it's one of those weird things that's very at the same time, because filming order is different to everything else. Like with the uniforms, they're made for one, seeing the other first. But we see them more, I believe, in DS9, and they do pack a punch.
Yeah, well, we've done a fact files on the photon torpedoes. I'm looking forward to doing one eventually on the quantum torpedoes. Learn more about those.
Yeah, but it would have been cool to see it in later Trek, to be able to, actually, when you got more CG, you could do some really intricate, maneuvers. It's pulse fires and quantums, then does barrel rolls, and really, this ship had the potential to do a bit. You got to see it do a lot, but I'd love to see even next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's neat. You need to see such a powerful weapon equipped on this small little ship. It definitely is a warship, and that says that. A lot of the bigger ships that we do our research for don't even have quantum torpedoes. So
because you have so few in your bay, but they pack so much punch. And the next photo is we get to see it in First Contact, and it's not doing so well, and the pulse phase is certainly a little bit less powerful here.
Well, they're probably running with depleted power because they're damaged quite a bit. I
mean, you can see the warp engine been hit, but again, this movie made it feel like an insignificant, small little ship, especially that shot with the E coming in. It's like, wow. Yeah, I mean, you don't get the sense that it could dock in DS9 and be, nice and big. I think that's when they I mean, again, it's for the shot. And again, you can argue camera, but you have a sense of space for that.
Yeah.
And
that was a cool shot, seeing the little Defiant and those huge Enterprise E.
Yeah.
But those zipping by is
those
really
pulse
impressive.
phasers didn't do jack against a Borg cube. I mean, they were just like... Nope.
I wonder if you could modulate each pulse to a different modulation to really screw with their shields.
I wouldn't have thought so, actually, because they're not exactly a strategic weapon. They're brute force. It's just power, power, power.
I know, but that's an interesting thought for a future pulse phaser design.
Defiant Mark II pulse. Yeah, we can redesign the pulse phasers. Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, and the next picture is the last picture, and it's just a beauty shot of it that you always see.
And I believe it's the shot where it decloaks the first time, I think, maybe.
Not sure. I think maybe you're right, yes.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful, interesting, different design with some great details. Because, again, you've got to actually work out where the hell everything goes, and I think they did a great job. It's probably one of the few ships that if you took away its Starfleet parts and recolored it and changed details, it wouldn't be Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did it, it works.
Yes. I agree. The striping, the banners on it definitely screams Starfleet. And one thing that I just thought of as you mentioned decloaking. Did you ever notice that it's almost the shape of the TOS Romulan bird of prey? I wonder if that helps with the cloaking profile.
Well, it wasn't designed to cloak, though, so I don't think we can draw that conclusion.
I know, I'm trying to come up with something awesome, dude.
Sorry, yes.
Same shape as Romulan bird of prey. There you go.
Yes, canon. Maybe. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the ships that we wanted to talk about and just see what we could think of. But there's so much information about this ship. I mean, the technical manual has a lot of great stuff, and we've got designers talk to about this ship as well and see what they think, and hopefully get the designer himself talk about it and see what great things. And there's also some great concepts for this ship as well, some pre-concepts. So it'd be great to talk about those as well. So a lot of great stuff.
We do have Jim Martin on the Trekyards team.
Yes,
we haven't officially done an announcement video with him or really spoke to him in detail, but he has spoke to us and he wants to be included. So
Jim Martin designed the Defiant. Problem is, most of our guys still work in the industry, so it's about timings. John Eves was difficult to get because he was working, and so Jim's also a bit difficult to get because he's also working. But yeah, we will get them all at some point. Do not worry, guys. And until then, any last thoughts on the USS Defiant class? Stuart?
Tough little ship. That's all I have to say. And the more I see it, the more I like it. Like I said, I didn't initially like it, but I can see it's the future of Starfleet, especially when you look at the relativity and stuff. They kind of move away from the saucer, secondary hull and cell type design as well. So compact and kind of one main unit body. So,
well, my last thought is Prometheus could still kick its ass.
Yes,
Anyway, that is it for another Trekyards mission briefing. A very cool little ship, and happy for her to appear on DS9. Definitely a turning point, as I said earlier. But remember, guys, we make the show every week for you, several different shows, but we need you guys' support. So if you can, please go to our Patreon page and give what you can, or donate a one-time donation at our website. And guys, put what you think about the ship in the comments below. Any information we've missed, and there's going to be some, any speculations, and anything you know about her, really, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and we know a lot of you love the Defiant. So let us know why you love the Defiant, and we'll look forward to the full episode later on next year. So, until then, this is Commander Kungs.
And Captain Foley.
See you next time, guys.
Bye, everybody.